Good morning to everyone. This is People's Advocate Sreemannarayana Mallela. Today we are discussing on auditing. First class, every class beginning, we will just memorize auditing standards. First, we'll come back from ending to beginning standards names. SRE 4400, SRS 4410, compilation engagement. SRS 4400, engagement perform agreed upon procedures regarding financial information. So, SRS only two standards are there. One is 4400, engagement to perform agreed upon procedures regarding financial information. Second one, SRS 4410, compilation engagement. So these are two engagement standards. So there are two SRS. One is engagement to perform agreed upon procedures regarding financial information. Another one, SRS 4410, compilation engagements. SRS 4400 is engagement to perform agreed upon procedures regarding financial information. SRS 4410 is compilation engagements. So easily remember, SRS two standards are there. One is what? One is compilation engagement, that is 4410. Another one is 4004, engagement to perform agreed upon procedures regarding financial information. So those two you will be remember. Next, if you go 3000 series, there are three standards are there. 3000 series, three standards. What says that 3400, examination of the prospective financial information. 3402, assurance report on control set service organization. 3420, assurance engagement reporting to the compilation pro forma financial information in the prospectus. Who will write down? Otherwise, will not remember. 3000 series, three are there. One is 3400 first. 3004. See, SAEs are three. The 3400 series are three. One is SAE 3400. Another one is SAE 3,402. Another one is SAE 3,420. SAE 3,400 speaks about SAE 3,400 speaks about the examination of the prospective financial information. The examination of the prospective financial information. Assurance report on controls at service organization. SAE 3,420 assurance engagement to report on the compilation pro forma financial information introduced in the prospectus. Let's write down. SAE 3,400 is what? SAE 3,400 speaks about examination of the prospective financial information. Examination of prospective financial information. Prospective financial information. Now, SAE 3,402 speaks about assurance report on control set service organization. Assurance report on control set service organization. Assurance report on control set a service organization. A service organization. Assurance report on control set service organization. Now, SA 3,420 speaks about assurance engagement report. SA 3,420 speaks about assurance engagement assurance engagement assurance engagement to report on the compilation assurance engagement to report on compilation of pro forma financial information. Compilation of pro forma pro forma financial information included in the prospectus. Pro forma financial information. Financial information included in the prospectus. Included in the prospectus. Okay. Maybe if I'm writing, it will take time. That's why first we'll drill out. Now, so SAE 3402. One is engagement perform agreed upon procedures regarding to financial information 4400. 4410 is compilation engagement. Whereas SAE three standards are there. 3400 is the examination of the prospective financial information. Whereas SA 3402 assurance report on assurance reports on controls at service organization. Whereas SAE 3420 assurance engagement report on service organization. SCI 3420 assurance engagement report on the compilation pro forma of the financial information included in the prospectus. Now, standards are there. One is 2400 engagement to review historical financial statements, whereas SAE 3000, SRE 2410 review of interim financial. SRE, there are two standards are there. SRE 2010 review of interim financial review of interim financial information performed by the independent auditor of the entity. SRE 2014 speaks about review of interim financial information. Now, there are 800 three series are there. First 800 speaks about a special considerations audit of the financial statements prepared in accordance with a special purpose framework. So the SA 800 speaks about special purpose framework of the financial statements. SA 800. Whereas SA 805, it speaks about special considerations audit of the single financial statements and the specific elements accounts in terms of the financial statement. Now, SCA 810 speaks about engagement report on the summary financial statements. Tell me, 800 series what speaking about? Friends, for the purpose of SCA 800 series, there are three standards are there. The standard 800 speaks about a special purpose framework of the financial statement, whereas SC 805 speaks about single financial statements, whereas SC 810 speaks about engagements report on summary financial statements, engagements to report on summary financial statement. So these are three standards. Now, if you come to SCA 700 series, SA 700 series, three standards are there with respect to SA 700, not three, around 3 plus 2, 5. This 5 speaks about, SA 700 speaks about forming an opinion and reporting on financial statement, SA 700. Whereas SA 701 speaks about communicating key audit matters in the independent auditor's report. SCA 700 forming an opinion and reporting on financial statements. SCA 701 communicating key audit matters in the independent auditor's report. SCA 705 modifications of opinion on the independent auditor's report. SCA 706 emphasis matter paragraph and other matter paragraph in the auditor's report. SCA 710 speaks about comparative information corresponding figures in the comparative financial statements. SA 720 auditor responsibility included auditor responsibility in relation to other information in document containing audited financial statements. So, so my friends, the moment you take the question paper, all standards names and title, it should be register our brain. Because when the question is applicable according to your way, and then write the answer. That's the style of answer will give a good marks in the auditing paper. So what I want to do every day morning, the moment our lecture started, the moment our class started, I would like to drill all the standards. So now you tell me, you just close your eyes and talk about what standard, what content. If you are not able to remember, then you just go look into your notebook. You tell me first, SA 700 speaks about. SCA 700 speaks about forming an opinion on reporting financial statements. That's called SCA 700. SCA 701 communicating key audit matters. Communicating key audit matters in the independent audit report. Now, SCA 700 speaks about just of forming an opinion on the financial statement. SCA 701 speaking about communicating key audit matters in the independent audit financial statement. Now, SCA 701, 700, 701. Thereafter, what is there? SCA 705 is there. SCA 705 speaks about modifications of the opinion on the independent auditor report. The modifications of opinion on the independent audit report, SA 705. SA 706, SA 706 speaks about other matter paragraph in the independent auditor's report. SA 720, sorry, SA 705 modification, SA 706 emphasis matter paragraph in the auditor's report. SA 720 auditor's responsibility in relation to other information document containing audited financial statements. So, my dear friend, it's very important. You need to at least remember the title of the standard. Now, let us recapture SCS 700. SCS 700 speaks about what? SCS 700 speaks forming an opinion. What it talking? Forming an opinion on report of the financial statement. Writing down, I am also writing down because to remember most. Forming an opinion, financial statements, forming an opinion, and reporting on financial statement, forming an opinion on reporting financial statements. Forming an opinion on reporting financial statements. Now, SCA 701 speaks about key audit matters in the independent audit report. Key audit matters. Key audit matters in the independent auditor's report. In the independent. You guys please open your notebook, pen and paper, write this. At least the title you should clear. Then we'll talk about more and more on the subject part. At least title should be registered in our brain. Key audit matters in the independent INDPENDENT. Key audit matters in the key audit matters in the independent auditor's report. Auditor's report. Now, SA 705 speaks about modification. Modification. SA 705 modification in the auditor's report. Am I right? Modification to the opinion in the independent auditor's report. Modification to the opinion in the independent auditor's report. In the independent auditor's report. Now, SA 706. SA 706 speaks about emphasis other matter paragraph in the auditor's report. Emphasis matter paragraph in the other matter paragraph in the emphasis matter paragraph. Emphasis emphasis of matter paragraph. Emphasis matter paragraph. Emphasis of other matter paragraph. Emphasis matter paragraph and other matter paragraph in the auditor's report. In the auditor's report. In the auditor's report. Now, SA 710. SA 710 speaks about auditor responsibility in relation to the documentation containing the audit of the financial statement. SA 710 comparative. SA 720 audit responsible in relation to other information. Okay. SA 710 speaks about SAS 710 speaks about comparative financial information. Comparative information, corresponding figures, comparative financial statement. So comparative comparative financial information, comparative financial information, comparative financial statement, comparative financial information, corresponding figures, in financial information. Now, SAS 720 speaks about SAS 720 what speaking? Auditor responsibility in relation to other information, documents contained in the audit financial statements. Auditor's responsibility in relation to other information, document containing audited financial statement. SAS 720 speaks about auditor's responsibility, auditor's responsibility contained in the auditor responsibility in relation to other information and documents contained in the audit financial statement. So auditor's responsibility is documents contained in the audited financial statement. See, SAS 720 speaks about auditor responsibility in relation to other information and documents containing the audited financial statements. The auditor responsibility, auditor's responsibility in the financial statement, document contained in the audited financial statements. See, auditor's responsibility in relation to other information in documents. Auditor's responsibility, other information contained in the documents. Auditor's responsibility, write down friends, here also, auditor's responsibility, information contained in the information contained in the information contained in the documents contained in the see, auditor responsibility in relation to other information in documents containing, auditor's responsibility, information contained in the documented audited financial statements, in the documents contained in the audited financial statements. Audited financial statements. Okay. So why I am insisting repetitively, at least being an auditor while doing audit, at least standard title perfectly it should be in our brain. There is no doubt on that. Now you go revise all standards at one juncture, you will able to remember. Now tell me, what auditor opinion on the financial statements? What talking? Just forming an opinion, either qualified or unqualified. It is just framing an opinion on the audited financial statement. That's called SCS 700 speaks. Now, SCS 701, SCS 701 what speaks about? SCS 701, the main objective is identifying the key audit matters in the auditor's report and mention the all key audit matters in one area and then reporting to the management. That key indicators are either maybe going concern, either maybe adverse decisions, either maybe weakness in the financial statements, or risk associated with the structure of the organization, whatever the manner. The objective is SCS 701 identifying the key audit matters and reporting to the financial statement. That is the objective of SCS 701. SCS 701, the main objective is communicating key audit matters in the independent auditor financial statement. Now, SCS 705 talking about modification in the independent auditor's report. You given me, you do this audit. I did it. While framing opinion, of course, it is already unqualified report. Now, because you given to me, I am doing audit. Because of that, any situation, because of thing, I may give modification of the opinion based on my audit. That facility provided in SCS 705. Whereas SCS 706 speaks about emphasis, other matter, emphasis, matter paragraph, and other matter paragraph in the auditor's report. Emphasis, matter paragraph, and other matter paragraph in the auditor's report. SCA 706. SCA 710 speaks about comparative information, corresponding figures. SCA 710 speaks about comparative information, corresponding figures in the auditor's report. SCA 710. SCA 720 speaks about auditor's responsibility, information contained in the documents of the financial information. Whereas SA 800, SA 800 speaks about a special purpose framework, a special consideration in relation to the a special consideration audit of the financial statement prepared in accordance with a special framework. SA 805 speaks a single financial statement. SC 810 engagement report and summary financial statement. 2400 engagement review of the historical financial statement, SRE 2400 review of historical financial statement. SRE 2410 review of the interim financial information performed by the independent auditor of the entity. SAE 3400 examination of the prospective financial information. SA 3402 assurance report and controls at service organization. SAE 3420 assurance engagement to report on the compilation pro forma financial information included in a prospectus. 4400 engagement to perform agreed upon procedures regarding financial information. 4410 compilation engagement. These are the standards which important for you. That's why I took this much time to these around half an hour, 7 lines or 10 lines. Remain standards, very small title, very easily will read, will go through all those. Let's move. First, the standard begins SQC quality control for firms performing auditor's report. That's called SQC1. The SQC1 speaks about quality control for firms performing auditor's report. SA 200 will talk about overall objective of the independent auditors and audit conduct. SA 2000, SA 210 agreeing the terms of audit engagement. SA 220 quality control for an audit of the financial statement. SA 230 speaks about audit documentation. SA 240 speaks about auditor's responsibility relating to fraud in an audit of the financial statements. SA 250 speaks about SA 250 speaks about consideration of laws and regulations in an audit of the financial statements. SA 260 speaks about communication with those charged with governance. 265 communicating deficiency of the internal controls and governance and management. SA 299 speaks about joint auditors and responsibilities. SA 300 speaks about audit planning, audit of the financial statements. SA 315 speaks about ఎందుకు ముక్కులు వీసిపోయినాయి జెండు బామ్ రాసుకున్నాను 1 minute my friend I'll go to just have a జెండు బామ్ and SA 265 speaks about communicating deficiency in internal control with governance and management. SA 299 speaks about responsibilities of the joint auditors. SA 300 speaks about planning and audit of the financial statement. SA 315 speaks about identifying and assessing risk of material misstatement through understanding. SA 320 speaks about materiality planning and performing an audit. SA 330 speaks about auditors' responses to assessed risk. SA 402 audit considerations relating to entity using service organization. SA 450 evaluation of misstatements identified during the audit. Audit evidence specific considerations for selected items. SCF 505, SCF 500 audit evidence, right? SCF 500 audit evidence, 501 audit evidence, special considerations for selected items, and SCF 505 external confirmation, SCF 510 initial audit engagement of the opening balances, SCF 520 analytical procedure, SCF 530 audit sampling, SCF 540 audit and accounting estimates in an audit of the financial statements. SCF 550 related parties, SCF 560 subsequent events, SCF 570 going concern, SCF 580 written representation by the management, 600 using the work of another auditor, 610 600 using the work of another auditor, 620 using the work of an auditor's expert, SCA 700 forming an opinion and reporting on financial statements. SCA 518 written representation, 600 using the work of another auditor, 620 using the work of an auditor's expert. So 700 series already we've done. Now we are moving to specialized areas. Now, we are talking about we are talking about and prospective financial information. This standard SA 3402 Assurance Report and Control Set Service Organization. The purpose of SA 3402, the conveyed standards covers discussion, engagement, where professional accountant reports on controls at service organization. Service organization that impact user entities on ICOFR. Internal control of the financial. The purpose is to provide a report for user entities and their auditors on the effectiveness of the controls on standards on audit. So the link SA 402 complement SA 402 by offering appropriate evidence for audits under SA 402. Scope and applicability. Applicability SAE 3402. The standards on auditing applies only if the specific organization is responsible for or make assertion about the suitable design of controls. SAE 3402 does not cover assurance engagement that only reports whether controls at service organization operated as described. Only report on controls at service organization unrelated to financial reporting of user entities, production, quality control. Meaning of service organization and user entity. Service organization, a third party organization that provides service to user entities affecting their internal control related to financial reporting. User entity, an entity that uses services of service organization. Why controls why controls standards on auditing are important to user entity internal control on financial reporting. The impact of user entity internal control controls at a service organization may be relevant to user entity financial reporting, such as controls may relating to presumption, disclosure, and auditor's evidence. A company has outsourced its payroll processing functions. The standards on auditing is responsible for the accurate information, preparation of the payroll, and timely remittance of the statutory dues. The controls of the service organization, the controls of the service organization dealing with timely remittance, timely remittance of statutory dues, the controls at service organization dealing with timely remittance are relevant for user entity as a late remittance attracts penalties for user entities. Scope of control set service organization includes includes control over the user entity information system maintained by a standards on auditing and other systems are relevant controls of service organization. For other, dear friends, for example, a company has outsourced its payroll processing functions. The standards on auditing is responsible for the control, for the accuracy preparation and payroll and timely remittance of the statutory dues. They consider standards on auditing dealing with timely remittance are relevant for user entity as a late remittance attracts penalties for user entities. Scope of the controls at service organization includes control over the user entity information systems maintained by standards on auditing and other internal control components at the service organization. Controls related to description systems are relevant. Controls of the standards on auditing for their own P&P. Scope of the control standards on audit. It includes controls the user entity financial systems maintained by standards on auditing and other systems are relevant. Control standards on auditing for their own P&P financial statements are not relevant. A professional judgment in assessing is a relevance where a service organization controls are relevant to a user entity. Internal control depends upon the control objectives and the suitability criteria. User auditor service auditor. User auditor, an auditor who audit and reports on the financial statements of a user entity. Service auditor, a professional accountant in public practice at the request of standards on auditing. User auditor and service auditor. User auditor, an auditor who audit the report on the financial statement of a user entity. Service auditor, a professional accountant in public practice who at the request of the ASO provides provided in the financial statements. A professional accountant in public practice who at the request of ASO provides an assurance support on its controls. That's called service audit. Now, objectives of the service auditor as per SA 3004 obtain reasonable assurance ensures that the standards on auditing system and controls are fairly presented, designed, and operating efficiency based on suitable criteria, a system some design. Objectives of the service auditor as per SA 3402 obtain reasonable assurance, ensure that systems and controls are fairly presented, designed, operating effectively based on suitable criteria. System description verify whether the standards on auditing SO description of its system accurately represent its design and implementation throughout the specified period at a specific date for a type 1 report. Control design assess whether the controls related to that stated controls objectives were suitably designed throughout the specified period at a specific date for a type 1 report. Control effectiveness for type 2 report. It included in the scope of the engagement determines whether the controls operated effectively to achieve the stated control objectives throughout the specified period. Reporting. Provide a report based on service auditors' findings in accordance with the above objective. Type 1 and Type 2 reports. Type 1 report. A Type 1 report is that comprises the service organization description of its system, a written assertion, a service organization, and based on suitable criteria, the description of the fairly presents the service organization system as designed and implemented at the time. The description fairly presents The service organization system as designed and implemented at the specific date. The controls related to the control objectives stated in description of its system were suitably designed as at specified date, and a service auditor's assurance report that conveys reasonable assurance conveys reasonable assurance. The controls related to the control objectives stated in description of its system were suitably designed as at the specified date, and a service auditor's assurance report that conveys reasonable assurance about the matters referred in 1B. Type 2 report is a report that comprises the service organization description of its system, a written assertion by the service organization and based on suitable criteria. The description fairly presents the service organization systems as designed and implemented throughout the a specified period. The controls related to the control objectives stated in description of its system were suitably designed throughout the specified period, and the control related to the control objectives stated in description of its system operated effectively throughout the specified period, and a service auditor a service auditor assurance report that convey a reasonable assurance about the matters in B includes a description of the test of the control and the result thereof. Note, a type 1 is a report that a description and design controls at a service organization. Type 2 report is a report that a description, design, and operating effectiveness of controls at a service organization. Proceeding with an engagement, a compliance with ethical requirement, the service auditor must comply with the ethical requirements including independence as applicable to assurance engagements, communicating with the management to those charged with governance. The service auditor shall interact with the standards on auditing through inquiries, request, and representation. Identify appropriate persons with management or governance to communicate with, acceptance of changes, engagement terms. The service auditor must ensure a capability, competence before accepting the engagement. Verify that the criteria used to describe the system and suitable and available user entities and auditors. Ensure that the engagement scope and system description are useful to user entities and auditors. If the standards on auditing request the scope change, auditor must determine it is reasonably justified and audited. If the standards on auditing request a scope change, auditor must determine if it is necessary to justify it, assessing the suitability of the change. The service auditor shall assess if the criteria used in describing the system and evaluating controls are appropriate. Assess for type 2 reports whether controls are operating effectively, determine the materiality, consider materiality while planning and controlling a service organization. Determine the materiality, consider materiality while planning, conducting the engagement regarding to the system, description, control, design, and control effectiveness in the type 2 report. Understanding the service organization system. Obtain a clear understanding of the service organization. Dear friends, now time is 4:37. The class is continuing actually since 1 hour. I need a small break. Then I would like to do effectively. Or otherwise, I'll complete the standard and I'll take the break. So what I'm talking, I am talking the standard. The standard name is SA 3402. Assurance report on the controls of the service organization. Understanding the service organization system. Obtain a clear understanding of the system's service organization system, including the controls that are part of the engagement scope. Obtaining evidence on systems description. Evaluate whether the service organization systems description is fairly presented within the scope of the engagement. Obtaining evidence on control design. Identify necessary control or control for achieving control objectives and assess if they were suitably designed. Obtaining evidence on control design. Identify necessary control for achieving control objective and assess if they are suitably designed. Operating evidence, effectiveness. This is a type 2 report. The test of the control that are essential for reporting for achieving the control objectives and assess their operating effectiveness throughout the period. Understanding the internal auditor function, if applicable, assess the role and activities of the internal audit functions to determination determination its relevance and possible reliance in the engagement, requesting written representation. My dear friend, the people who are watching my YouTube channel, you please kindly subscribe and like my channel, so it will be useful for me. Thank you. Now, the requesting written representation, obtain written representation, confirmation from the standards on auditing. This stating that the reaffirm of the assertions regarding to the system description that all relevant information and access have been provided, disclosure to service auditor of the following, the that all relevant information and access have been provided, disclosure to service auditor of the following: non-compliance, fraud, or deviations impacting user, entity, design defectiveness in the controls. Instance where controls fulfill to operate as a described, a subsequent events that could impact the assurance report. Identifying subsequent events, inquire about inquire about any significant events occurring after the period covered by the system assurance, system description up to the date of the service auditor's report that might have significant impact on the assurance report. Now, service auditor's assurance report. Title, assurance, service auditor's assurance report. There will be content, title, address, identification of the standards on auditing systems, description and assertion, which includes the matter, type 1, type 2 report, and specifies any excluded parts of the description. If applicable, clarifies that complementary user entity controls are not evaluated but are necessary for achieving control objectives. Mention any subservice organization and their nature of the activities. Identifies the criteria used and the entity defining the control objectives. States that the report and test description in type 2 report is intended for user entities and other and their auditor. Statement that a service organization is responsible for preparing the systems, a description and assertion, ensuring accuracy and completeness, providing the description of the services, stating control objectives unless specified by law, regulation, or other bodies, designing and implementing control to achieve control objectives. See, a service auditor responsibility expressed an opinion on the a statement that a service organization is responsible for preparing the system description and assertion, ensuring accuracy and completeness, providing the designed services, stating the control objectives unless specified by law or regulation and other bodies, and designing and implementing the control to achieve control objectives. A service auditor responsibilities express an opinion on the system description, design, control, and for type 2 report, their offering effectiveness, conduct if the audit as per SAE 3402. What SAE 3402 speaks about? SAE 3402 speaks about assurance report on assurance report on contained service organization. According to SA 402, 3402, 3402 is what? Assurance report on control set service organization. Assurance report on control set service organization. Now, type 2 report states whether in all material respect the system description fairly present the system throughout the period. The controls were initially the controls were the system description fairly presentation system throughout the period. The controls were suitably designed throughout the period. The tested controls operated effectively throughout the period to achieve control objective. Type 1 report Type 1 report states whether in all material respects the system description fairly presented the system as at the specified date, the controls were suitably designed on the specified date. Now, the date of the service of the auditor's report must not be earlier than when the service auditor has been obtained sufficient evidence to support the opinion. A signature, the report must signed by the service auditor. Place of signature should be there. Additional reporting requirement for type 2 reports, a separate section on control testing. Auditors reporting requirement in type 2 report, a separate section control testing. Describe a test of the control performed in their result. Details of the control testing clearly state which control were tested, whether testing covered all items or sample, the, the nature of the test, ensuring and user auditors can assess their relevance to risk, reporting deviations. If deviations are identified, it specifies sample size and number of deviations. Describe the nature of the deviations found. Reporting even if control objectives are met. Even if control objectives are achieved, any deviations identified must still be reported. modified opinion or documentation. A circumstance of the modifications, the modified opinion. If the service auditor concludes that the system description is not fairly presented, the controls were not suitably designed, the type to report the tested controls, not extension, the type to report the related controls did not operate effectively. The service auditor cannot obtain standards on auditing evidence. Then the service auditor opinion shall be modified and the assurance report must clearly explain the reasons for modification. Documentation requirement. The service auditor must prepare documentation that allows an experienced auditor with no prior connection to understand nature, timing, and extent procedures performed to comply with the standards on auditing evidence, legal requirements, regulatory requirements, results of the procedures or evidence obtained, a significant matters, conclusions, and obtain a report. Documentation requirement. The service auditor must prepare documentation that allow experienced auditor with no prior connection to understand nature, timing, and extent of the procedures performed to comply with the standards on auditing evidence and legal regulatory requirement. The results of the procedures and evidence obtained, a significant matters, conclusions, and professional judgment made. My dear friend, the people's advocate Sreemannarayana Mallela today it discussed about SA 3402. We are going to take break sometime. After my break completed, I would like to come back to discuss SA 3420. SA 3420 speaks about assurance engagement to report on the compilation pro forma financial information included in the prospectus. That we'll talk later. Who are watched my YouTube channel till now, thank you, and all. I'm grateful to you. We'll work together, study together, continue together, and success together. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I'll come back to you after some time. Thank you for watching me and subscribe to me and click like button. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Bye bye. See you, Tata. Bye bye.